Good morning, everyone. It's been a great homecoming for me. I spent a lot of time in Tonawanda as a Erie County Erie County clerk because we had a DMV office here, right, Carl? Yes, we did. Yes, we did. A lot of time out here providing services to our residents, and so it's great to be back here. And also, I've been touring the state, visiting police departments all over, and we'll talk about the funding from the state and how they're using it for technology. But this is also just an opportunity for me to say thank you to everyone who decides they want to be a member of law enforcement, goes through the rigors of training, is part of a team, an incredible community, and I want to just let them know how grateful I am to all of them for what they do, because of what they do, we all sleep better at night, more safely in our beds, and I'm also grateful to every one of them. Certainly our leadership matters as well. Chief James Stofager, I want to thank him for embracing these opportunities and his overall leadership, but the enthusiasm with which he approached the opportunity to have money from the state and to deploy it for his members to make them even more effective. So thank you, Chief. Someone I've known a long time, Supervisor Joe Eminger, and all your town board members who are here today. Thank you, Joe. Great leadership here. Got to keep it going.
What's that?
Got to keep it going.
Yes, absolutely.
Stick around.
Your help.
All right. And someone who's going to be ascending to likely a different position very soon, but is our Senator Sean Ryan. I want to thank him for what he does for this community so far in Albany, as well as Assemblyman Bill Conrad, a great champion for this community, and always to have a strong relationship with our district attorney, Mike Kane, and our other county officials who are here. But again, today we focus on the brave men and women of the Tonawanda Police Department. And I know a little bit about police departments since I was a town board member for 14 years, and an important part of our budget was funding our police department as well as hiring the chief and going through the vetting for all of the members of that community. And so it's something I was immersed in for a long time, and that's why it brings to me this sense that for a long time we didn't have as much support from the state as I always thought we should have, and to put on costs to keep up with emerging technologies so we can stay ahead of the criminals has been put on localities, and they just don't have the budgets to do this at the scale that I want them to do. So that's why, based on my personal experiences and personal other elected positions, I knew how important this would be for places like Tonawanda. So I just had an opportunity to check out some of the crime-fighting technology. You know how important this is to me, and we're always, as I mentioned, we're always trying to stay a step ahead of the criminals, but they sure make it hard on us. You saw the announcement from the Tonawanda Police Department. I want to get this out to everybody, that the latest scam is that you could be a victim of a car theft, not from what we talked about a couple of years ago, when you can use the charger for your cell phone and literally steal a Hyundai or a Kia. Now they're getting very clever and able to scan your fob and get the information necessary literally from your house. You keep your keys near the door inside. You think your door is locked, but they're able to scan this and to use that to steal your vehicle while you're sleeping. So Tonawanda Police Department, I thank you for sounding the alarm on this. I think this should be all over the state. But also there are ways to have fob protectors that everybody should be employing. Again, that's a lower tech way to do this, but that's what we're up against. We're one step here, and they're always going to try and be a step ahead of us, and that's why technology matters. That's why I've committed $127 million to technology upgrades across the state for law enforcement. Here in Western New York, it's nearly $2 million. And the Tonawanda Police Department, they've received $734,000. And you saw in this room, and I saw outside, very impressive use and decision-making from the entire team on how to use that money in the smartest and best way to protect the residents of this community. So we saw the drones here, the cameras, the SWAT headsets, virtual training sets, and also the 3D crime scene scanner, which is quite remarkable. In just 4 minutes, it absorbs thousands and thousands of data points and can literally recreate a crime scene, which otherwise was done on paper with pens and rulers and trying to estimate rate of speed of the vehicles involved in a crash. And now the police can perform a detailed forensic analysis without even having to return to the crime scene over and over and over, because all that data is captured and analyzed right back here. So it also preserves fragile evidence and allows prosecutors to prevent a detailed visual examination of what really happened on that day. It's just a game changer. So that's just one part of my holistic approach to protecting the public, which is my #1 priority. And in Western New York, we've embraced other strategies, including the Gun-Involved Violence Elimination Initiative, over $6 million allocated to Western New York for programs that are really doing an incredible job reducing gun crimes and shootings and the homicide rate throughout this region. It's making a real difference. We have over $3.2 million for the SNUG street outreach programs, and I became familiar with this years ago as a county official. In fact, my husband was a prosecutor, a violent crime prosecutor, before he became U.S. attorney, and he knew many of the individuals who were, some of them had former run-ins with the law or had done some time in prisons, and used their experiences to come out and be part of an organization that we're funding that allows them to be the trusted individuals in a community to help young people in particular find a more productive, safer path forward. And so this is really important to me to keep supporting those violence disruptor programs. We allocated $2 million for Project Rise, and that provides mental health services and mentoring and other services really for a lot of people, again, with the idea of keeping people away from violence. And our Crime Analysis Center, the Erie County Crime Analysis Center, $1.5 million for that. That's one of 11 crime analysis centers. There just had been a few when I first became governor, and I realized it's all about connecting the dots and sharing information in real time. That's how we can bolster up our defenses for people across the state. And we're continuing to be able to crack some of our toughest cases and making sure that we also look at our laws. We heard a lot about the need for changes in our laws. We had to toughen up our bail laws, not 1 year, but 2 consecutive years. I had to go back and say, listen, I understand the philosophy, the attitude behind the changes, but we have too many people that are committing crimes that are getting out without consequences, and that's not how you keep a community safe. We also had to change more recently our discovery laws, because our prosecutors will tell you, the police does their work on the ground. They build pretty much an ironclad case and have all the evidence. But right when it gets to court, the judges had their hands tied behind these because of these laws passed, that literally cases are being thrown out on technicalities. That if there was a piece of paper as well as a digital copy of some evidence and you did not provide both, even though they're duplicative, a case could be thrown out on that alone. Domestic violence cases. We were finding out that 94% of domestic violence cases were being thrown out before that victim even had her day in court because of the technicalities involved here. So we changed all that. You're going to see a major difference over the next year, and I'm proud to see that, and our prosecutors will be employing that along with additional money we've provided our prosecutors. And stronger red flag laws. This is how you have that early warning system based on what someone has said to a classmate in school or telegraphed to a teacher, or what they're doing online. And our monitoring of online speech is robust. We had a very small analysis center at State Police, and I changed that, particularly after the Buffalo shooting. I went back to my team and said, what could we have done? What does the state have to do now to at least try to identify perpetrators who feel, in this case, were radicalized online to a philosophy of hatred and willing to drive 3 hours to slaughter individuals who are doing nothing more than grocery shopping. I use that example all the time of how we sat down and said more has to be done, and toughening up our red flag laws has made a huge difference in getting guns out of the hands of individuals before they harm themselves or others. And let's look at Tonawanda. Again, congratulations. Index crime is down 11%, not over years, but just since last year alone. Violent crime, down 36%. This is extraordinary. This is extraordinary. When people know this, it does bring a higher sense of security, that basic sense of security that everybody deserves to have. And let's zoom out and look at all of Erie County. It's a very similar story, actually similar all across the state. Index crime, Erie County down 13%, murders down 23%. And basically, I'm just going to wrap up with this. This is how you fight crime. You fund the police at record levels. My administration in 4 years has allocated nearly $3 billion for law enforcement. That's unprecedented, but it's making a difference. Equipping them with the best police technology, improving coordination between agencies, which was not happening before, and again, engaging young people before they find themselves on the wrong path, and finally, passing or changing laws that need to be changed just to have more common sense in our criminal justice system. So that's how we're going to keep doing it. Now, I also want to show a contrast from what is going on here in the state of New York with what we're seeing in Washington. It was very disturbing to me to see there had been a reallocation of law enforcement resources at the federal level. You know, FBI agents, DEA agents being redeployed to become ICE agents. I'm not sure how using ICE agents to go into small businesses like I visited earlier last week, or to be going to our schools or places of worship or around our courthouse. It's people who've been living here a long time. You know, some you hear stories, people have been here 20, 25 years, contributing members of our community, working hard, making a difference. How redeploying money from fighting criminals and fighting terrorists to those activities, how that makes us safer. Well, it doesn't. It does not make us safer. And separating kids from their parents does not make us safer, or nor cutting this money for public safety does not. Just this year, Homeland Security slashed $87 million from counterterrorism dollars. Every community is vulnerable, whether it's cybersecurity, cyber terrorism, or real in-person threats. Why'd they do that? $87 million less we have in New York State than we had the year before. That's a 40% cut right here in Western New York. Does anybody feel safer now? 40% cut in federal resources to help keep us protected from terrorism. Now, what does that mean? It's bomb squads, tactical teams, K-9 teams, and hazardous material response units that will not have the funding that they've relied on in the future. So I'll close with a simple message to Washington. If you're serious about law and order, if you're serious about keeping America safe, then look what we're doing in New York. We're funding law enforcement at higher levels. We're not scaling back, and we believe in the people on the ground and their ability, if we give them the resources they need, to just do their jobs because they're so committed. So I say we should work together with Washington, find a path forward, but please restore the funding that's been cut. So we've come a long way, but you'll never hear me say that mission accomplished or done, because one crime victim is one too many. But I'm here to just, again, thank the leadership, thank all the members of this incredible, extraordinary police department and the elected officials who are here, but also to remind people what's working. This is what's working. The dollars are what's working, and the people behind me are working every single day to keep us safe. And I want to say thank you to all of them. Thank you very much. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Chief of Police.
Thank you, Governor. All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. So first, there are over 500 police agencies in New York State, and it is my distinct honor to welcome you, Governor Hochul, and for selecting us as one of those agencies to visit here today. Thank you very much. There's your unwavering support for law enforcement throughout our state is incredible. Thank you for that. And as we all know, public safety is, of course, a priority for any thriving community. Governor Hochul recognizes that. And under your leadership, we're reminded that our law enforcement agencies are not only a vital partner in ensuring safety, but also essentially fostering trust within our communities and collaboration with our neighborhoods. And your commitment to the men and women of this police department itself is not going unnoticed, and we are truly grateful.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
And today, I would like to emphasize the vital role of this state's law enforcement technology program funding provided through your administration. It has enhanced our operations, and as the governor mentioned, we received $734,000 through your funding. I wish I would have asked for more. I'm sure you would have given it to me.
There's always next year, Chief.
There is, yes, ma'am. So this equipment and these tools are actually lifelines that enable our officers to serve and respond more effectively in the complex world in which we live in today. And with these advancements, we can improve our response times, boost our operational efficiency, and ensure the safety of both our residents and our officers. And with the funding that you provided us, we talked a little bit about this, but there were 24 advanced communication headsets purchased for our SWAT team, 25 computers for our department vehicles, the drone that we use in tactical operations, community events, accident investigations, and the search for missing persons, body-worn cameras, the virtual reality training equipment, and the accident investigation technology, including the 3D scanning instrument and black box crash data recorder. Plus, we are currently in the process of purchasing new and improved surveillance cameras for within the police department. And in a time where the challenges we face seem to multiply daily, we must adapt to better protect our communities. The equipment and technology funded by your grant allow us to do just that. It equips our officers with the necessary tools to meet the demands of modern policing, enabling them to focus them on their primary mission and keeping our streets safe and our residents secure. Your continued support, Governor, with to those who are sworn to serve and protect speaks volumes about your dedication to our communities. It's not just about providing resources, it's about empowering us to deliver results that really matter. So I think that you really understand the importance of equipping our departments with the tools required to respond effectively and efficiently, and for that, we thank you. And as we move forward, we're excited about the possibilities that lie ahead for us. And with your support, we're not just keeping pace with the evolving landscape of public safety. We're leading the charge in innovative solutions that drive positive change in our communities. Once again, Governor Hochul, thank you for your steadfast commitment to law enforcement, for prioritizing public safety, and for being an advocate for our officers in the communities they serve. And together, we're going to continue to build a safer and more secure future for all who call Town of Tonawanda home.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Invite our supervisor, Joe Eminger, to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. I think it's only fitting today that we are gathered here in our Frank Fonner Public Safety Building. Officer Fonner is the only officer who was killed in the line of duty in the town of Tonawanda. It happened over 100 years ago in 1923. And the men and women of this department, under the leadership of Chief Stoffager and Assistant Chief Fennell, do serve and protect our community, the finest in Western New York, if not the state. We, as a town board and as a former town board member, I think you can appreciate this, our resources are somewhat limited. All that you saw, all that you see before you cost money. And we are honored, I am honored here today to also be joined by our team. And when I say our team, not only our town board members, but also our state elected officials, Senator Ryan, Assemblyman Conrad, District Attorney Kane, okay, our county legislators, Barnese and Kishoian, okay. We work as a team, and we rely, of course, finally at the top to you, Governor, and your support is really unprecedented for law enforcement. And we can't do for our community if we don't work as a team. And we rely on the state, the county, the local officials to just all come together and protect our residents. And when the boots hit the ground, it's the men and women on patrol, on the streets, who do their job, and their job isn't getting any easier, as we all know, and not getting any easier at all. And we are very grateful for your joining us today. And I do come bearing a small gift, if you don't mind. This past Saturday, 2 days ago, we had a celebration in our town that commemorated the 50th anniversary of the founding of our the first statewide paramedic group here in New York State, our Tonawanda paramedics. They have saved thousands of lives. We've received state grants, of course, you know, for that service as well. And I have a small token, very small token. This is our their 50th anniversary commemorative coin, and we're proud of our paramedics, our dispatchers, our first responders, all of our first responders, and we say thank you to you for your efforts. And I think it all goes back, like I said, to your days as a town board member. You never forgot that, and please don't ever forget that going forward.
I sure won't. All right, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor.
All right, we're going to take a couple on-topic questions on today's announcement of law enforcement technology here in Tonawanda. We shall start with Dave over there.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning.
You had mentioned your concern over FBI and DEA agents being redeployed as ICE agents. However, in this state and other states like it, where they have such policies, won't that local police help these agencies? And so I guess the question is, would they need to do that, redeploy these federal agents if we didn't have policies preventing our local police from assisting them?
Oh, no, I think you're mischaracterizing our state policies here, that our even state police are required and are willing to work with ICE when it comes to executing a criminal warrant. I have said even to Tom Homan, you have criminals that need to be gone. I mean, you said you're going after the worst of the worst, the most egregious criminals. I said, I'll help you. We've been doing this long before this administration. So our policies are that local law enforcement and state police will work hand in hand with ICE to help identify, secure, and remove people who are a criminal threat. And so I think that, but I think if you're also saying, for example, if ICE came in and said they wanted all of our Tonawanda police officers to help them go after, wait outside schools and to see whether anybody comes out, that they could possibly see if they possibly have aren't here under legal status. I think it's important that they're fighting domestic violence cases in their town and protecting against terrorism and solving for accidents. So I think it's also like, you do your jobs the way you always have, we'll do ours, but when there's a case, if they're presented a warrant for someone's arrest and a criminal warrant, absolutely we should be helping. So I think that you shouldn't conflate the two here.
Well, there have been cases around the state, including in Rochester, where local police have been threatened with being suspended if they showed up to back up ICE upon request.
Well, that's because of a policy in the city of Rochester. That is not our state policy. That is, I've already explained what it means in our state policy. We do assist when there's arrest involved.
So is that also a separation maybe between like civil crime versus, again, more of a violent crime sort of thing? Those individuals maybe were civil criminals?
When there's a criminal warrant, a judicial order, warrant for arrest, absolutely. There's 3 or 4 categories of where we will automatically provide assistance. I know a little bit about this because I was forced to testify for 8 solid hours in Washington because the representatives there, the Republican representatives, had a wildly inaccurate understanding of our laws in the state of New York, and I had to set them straight.
Any other on topic?
Yes, you said the criminals are sure making it hard on us. And of course, your party and you've been criticized about making it hard on the police, and I'm glad you brought that up. And then you went on to say how many steps you've taken to shepherd reforms to bail reforms in the last couple of years. So my question is there any more tweaking that needs to be done on that beyond the measures that you've shepherded in terms of discovery and the other ones you brought up, or are we good where we're at?
Yeah, I wouldn't just characterize it by parties. I mean, there are elements in both parties who say and propose policies that the vast majority of the party, you ask the majority of Democratic elected officials and members of the Democratic Party, should we fund the police? The answer is yes. And so let's not take it down to that base level. I don't think that's necessary. I think what we're doing now is continuing to bring in the resources and looking at laws always. I'm always willing to look at laws. I'm the governor who've had to go in and undo a lot of things that were, again, good intended, well intended, but did not foresee down the road the implications and the collateral damage to communities that are really those where the most crimes are being committed were left unprotected because of some of these laws. And so I had to go in and expend an enormous amount of political capital my first couple of years as a governor and get them right. But I think even the discovery laws, those were just only a few months old. I think you're going to see a shift in the number of cases that are successfully prosecuted because you won't have them thrown out in technicalities. We're always going to protect defendants' rights. And if there's exculpatory evidence, they're required to turn it over. Correct, Mr. DA?
Yes, Your
Absolutely correct, required to turn that over.
Yes.
But, do you want to describe for a second what it was like under the current laws until we change the discovery laws? I think you're going to see a lot more cases successfully prosecuted when there is really evidence that someone has committed a crime. That's how you protect the community. So I think we're going to let this, for the near future, let some of these laws play out. And again, I don't think you can argue with the numbers here either. Compared to where the numbers were escalating upward and upward and upward, all the crime statistics, index crimes, assaults, retail theft, violent crimes, they were all heading upward when I first became governor. All those categories are downward, even in places like New York City. Subway crime, everybody talked about subway crime in New York City. It's a scary place. We had the lowest recorded number of crimes committed on the subway in July and August in history. So we're now down to 30-year lows in many of these crimes across the state. And I give a lot of credit to the people you're seeing in the front of this room and all over the state who are doing their very best and working as a partner to me to get that done. All right.
Unless anyone else has any on topics, we're gonna pause there. All right, WFO, one last on topic.
Yeah, State Senator Pat Helming has been pretty vocal about her PROTECT Act, which would have to do with bail reform as well. She's said she doesn't think that it would pass without your direct support and including it in the budget bill. Do you think there's any potential for that being included in the budget bill, or your thoughts on the?
Let me familiarize myself with the details of her bill. I'm actually preoccupied with looking at the 847 bills that were passed that I have to have done by the end of this year. So the ones that passed the legislature draw my attention, but I also, I use the state of the state as an opportunity to also take ideas. And our focus has been, safety and affordability for 4 years. And I can guarantee that's going to continue to be the thrust of what we're proposing. And so I'm always happy to look at ideas from legislators.
We're gonna take a pause there. We're gonna excuse our friends here. We can just leave that door. We'll take a couple of topics.
Let's get our elected officials close. We can get a picture with all of them. Come on, get the police around. Yeah, everybody.
Get my town council up here.
Yeah, everybody up. Yeah, let's do this one first. We're fine here, and then.
I always go in the back row. Since kindergarten. I was a two-rugger.
All right, let's get our town officials, our county officials.
Wants to stay, Governor?
Yeah, yes, please. Come on, a little closer. Come on, everybody.
Margarita, I didn't see Margarita.
Hey, it's so good to see you again. Oh, I see you. Good to see you. Good to see you.
I'm going next to you.
I'm sure.
You don't mind me next to you, do you? No.
Thanks, Carol. We got,
We're gonna take
can I get
time for like two off topics.
Can I get some water from Liz?
Yeah, water. With,
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna close that door. Then we're
Bills are
gonna-
looking good, guys, right? Oh, my gosh. I've been at a few of the games. It's extraordinary to see the energy behind them and that one miraculous second half, which was like, so just, I digress, but I can't say that in front of all the gaggles without getting into trouble, so I'm happy to have.
Brayden, then Jeff.
Okay.
Governor, last week, the state DOT announced a reset of the Kensington Expressway project. Just want to get your thoughts on their plans going forward and what maybe you would like to see done with the Kensington.
You know, let's talk about that. I first proposed, a major initiative to try and repair a community that was severed by this, massive infrastructure, the Kensington, the 33. So my first budget, January of 2022, I proposed $1 billion to accomplish something that had been talked about in the community for decades, but no money behind it, no support behind it. Of course, that engendered a lot of opinions on it, and I knew we had a finite amount of money to work with. But we started the process. We did the environmental assessment. I got support from the federal government. We're making real progress. And as often happens with projects across the state, but it feels too frequent here in Western New York, that, people with a different opinion decide to go to court and to basically stop what I thought was going to be significant progress for the community. So that's what happened. So we stepped back and said, well, the court said no because these advocates have asked for it, basically shut down the project until it's more in line with what they want. But now we are at a place of a reset. I had our Commissioner of DOT, Marie-Therese Dominguez, come out and talk about that. The community engagement starts again. It is a longer process. It is a more expensive process just to do the background reviews to get to a point then where we are right now. So we're probably a few years down the road to get to where we are now. Okay, I want everybody to be aware of that. Be patient because these environmental review processes are lengthy. And then the question will be, at the end of all this, what is the price tag? What is the price tag of what, if everybody wants something that's a much larger scale than we knew we could accomplish, that's going to have a bigger price tag to it, I guarantee it. So I guess the observation is we're doing what the judge asked us to do. We're heading down that path, but I just caution everybody to know it's a longer path and will ultimately be a more expensive path than where I thought we could be at this point, which was actually driving some real results for the community. So you asked my opinion, that's my opinion.
Jeff?
Wanted to get you on energy costs if we could. We see rates, electricity going up. We see companies continuing asked to raise those rates even further. What's being done to make those more affordable? Energy, electricity more affordable for people?
Yeah, you are so right about that. And this is, we talk about affordability. And the big drivers of people's bills are their mortgage or rent, often childcare. And utilities are now really moving up quickly in terms of what communities, businesses, and families are having to pay. So my view is it's about supply, just like housing. We build more housing, the prices will drop. I'm laser focused on that. Also, if we have to have more of an all-the-above approach to energy. We are continuing to lean hard into renewables. I have offshore wind in New York City, which is going to be powering 500,000 homes in Brooklyn with clean renewable power. That's great. We have wind farms upstate New York, powering energy everywhere. Wyoming County in particular. You fly over that, you see all the turbines. But also solar, so we're going to continue our commitments to both of those. But also, I put something on the table which is longer term, but I think it's going to help us with sustainability, which is nuclear. There are no new nuclear plants in the state in decades. No one talked about it because of the fear factor. And I said, I directed NYPA. I did a big event there. Many of you were there back in June. Says we're all in for nuclear. That's how I can create more plentiful energy on the grid so we can fight these increases. Now, that being said, we're also looking at some natural gas as well. So all the above approach. But in the meantime, when entities ask for, 18, 20% increases, we have a Public Service Commission that I have directed multiple times to cut that down dramatically, and they have. So what we still have is more than anyone wants, but compared to what it had been first proposed, we're being very aggressive with them. They have to cover their costs. I understand that. If we want them to build more transmission lines to bring more power, that has to be paid for. But New Yorkers are taking on the chin with utility costs, and I understand that. And especially as someone who is from an area that's very cold in the wintertime. And I know our costs are going to continue going up, so we have to have supply, so we never also, as we did last year a couple of times, actually get close to approaching our capacity. Once in the winter statewide, and once in the summer because of high use of air conditioners, because summers are much hotter than they've been. So climate change is a driver of all this, but we can't just complain about it. We have to find more sources of energy to drive down costs for consumers.
Time for one more from Hope.
What is your reaction to the DEC Buffalo Sewer Authority lawsuit ending in $1 billion agreement to clean up the Niagara River?
Right, we work very close with them, and I want to give Amanda Lefkin, my new commissioner of DEC, kudos for the work that she's been doing on this. It needs to be cleaned up. It has to be cleaned up. Cleanup is very expensive. And so, we've been finding a path forward, working closely with them to make sure that we can ensure the discharges have been treated, that we don't end up with a situation that we've been experiencing. It's not acceptable. But our DEC is going to be very involved in the ultimate solution and the monitoring of this. And so people can count on that for sure at my direction. So, all right, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you coming out. Thank you. Take care, everybody.